I think the question for humanity is, do you have a heart? See? Where is it? See? Prove it. Do you have compassion? Prove it. You have intelligence, whose function, or which function is to help other beings. Prove it. And if so, why are you carrying a gun if you have compassion? See, what's gone so wrong where you have to destroy one another? See, at this point. See, is it ignorance? Is it a lack of compassion? Is it lack of training? Lack of wisdom? What is it? Is it a lack of true religion? Is it a lack of true spirituality? Is it a lack of true intelligence? Is it a lack of true genius? What is it? See? Do you have a heart? Do you have the heart? Yes, it's a question for all of us. Do we have the heart? See? Do we have the heart to love?
From chapter 75, you write, ordinarily, thoughts of spirits arise into and from the time-space conditioned mind of the incarnated being, as if these and all thoughts arising are to be questioned, tested, validated, or acted upon. These spirits are drawn to and usually follow the thoughts of certain human beings, thereafter influencing them and their actions. Is the law of attraction or like attracts like at play here? In other words, if one is to indulge in low thoughts, are you saying that that alone could draw low spirits to them, which in turn would produce or influence more low thoughts and our actions?
That's a good question, because we have, I think we could say that in some cases there are laws that seem to be consistent with logic, and then there are other laws that seem to be inconsistent with logic. So sometimes you have like attracts like, and then sometimes like attracts the opposite. And so to add to the mix of this, you have the positive and the negative at every step of the way. So the opposite is not an opposite. The opposite is an opposite and a similar, a like. So we're talking about, at the atomic level, we have both poles. And this is the secret and the I guess you might say, the riddle of the universe. So that at any point, at any single point, at any moment, a so-called negative person, obsessed with the negative energies and being the worst enemy, can switch. There can be a flip. See, at any point, that can happen. All of a sudden, like that. And that's the same for all beings. You can flip and switch back and forth from the negative to the positive, or the neutral, or the transcendent, depending on what you're open to. What spirit you're willing to receive from or be influenced by. Ordinarily, when we're talking about these kinds of negative things and the positive things, we're talking about social level and human nature for the most part on the earth plane. And that's really the plane of chaos for the most part. People are so overmixed, they don't know for sure, one thing or other, the high or the low, or for how long, or to what degree, under what conditions. So this kind of confusion is due to a lack of, let's say, purity of awareness. And sometimes to get a better feeling for what you as an individual need for your own, let's say, upliftment, you have to isolate yourself. So we need the balance. When we go to sleep at night, that's a form of isolation, actually. An isolation and then a form of, let's say, re-entering socialization, spiritual re-socializing, right? And so we're talking about different levels of this process of isolation or individualization, and then socialization. You know, taking to empower yourself, and then giving, and then receiving more. But then the reception is really what needs to be questioned. What are you receiving that you need to advance your purpose? And I'm speaking now in terms of the spiritual purpose, which is to help other people and increase your heart intelligence and your capacity to love and be compassionate, rather than your need to, let's say, on the other end of the spectrum, destroy. So we need to find influences that we can draw from to a certain degree, but then we need to know what our own capacity is, our own interest is, or our own idea is that's given to us by Spirit in order to move forward and up. We have to isolate ourselves sometimes, spend time alone, not just in sleep, but as a conscious thing. Say, okay, now tell me what you need for me to know. Say, great Spirit, whatever it is, great idea, great genius, please tell me. Okay, now I'm letting everything else go. Please tell me what you have for me, if you have anything for me. I'm here. Let me know. Make it clear to me. Let me know what I need to do to have it made clear to me. Let me know. These are please. See, to the higher self in all beings.
From chapter 75, you write, "It is naive to assume or believe that putting all of one's trust in the thought or feeling of God is all that is necessary to be saved or released from suffering. It is also naive to believe that investing such trust along with doing what is apparently or morally right is all that is necessary to clear the way, when in fact, very few indeed know what or who God is enough to know what one is putting trust into. If believing in God and living a moral life isn't enough, then what must one do to prevent or end suffering?"
Well, for a second you want to pause. As a human being, you want to pause, and you have to think of your roots. You have to think of your roots for a second. If you have any one of, let's say, a number of religious and philosophic roots, you go to those individuals, you go back to the roots, whoever they are, right? And you see that these individuals are strong enough to go their way, right? They were strong enough to, let's say, isolate themselves from the people. You see this in almost every case, where they have to leave the tribe and go alone, whether it's into the desert, up on the mountain, into the sea, into the caves, wherever it is. The individual leader has to go alone and then receive. If it's true for the individual leader, it's probably true for all. Who can make that sacrifice? Who can do that? Certainly true for artists. As a musician, I would say that's the best solution, the best remedy. Is to go inside. And that's a figure of speech, to go inside. What does that mean? Well, it means this. If you're aware of, let's say, what is the social, if we're talking music, what is the social stream of music? What it is that you can hear. And you have to go beyond that. Say, no, that's not good enough. What you can hear out here is not good enough. It's not true enough for you. That means that's not all you can hear. So then you have to create conditions. Or follow something that enables you to create the conditions, where you can hear what you need to hear to bring that to the many, from the self, from one to the many. So that you become, let's say, the prophet, so to speak, that brings one to the many. Each one has to become prophet to bring from one to the many. And too often putting it completely on already existing prophets is not enough. So you find confusion, because each one is not doing enough for themselves and for their people. Who is it that's going to step up? Say, no, I need the truth for this situation. I read what was true for a situation far removed from me in the reality. And now I need to know what's true for my situation, because the word from that situation does not apply directly to this, because it's not working for this, and everybody here is miserable and they're hearing these words and there's no resonance with the words, so something's missing. Yes, yeah, true time and space is missing. Yeah.
Would you say that there are some beings who don't believe in God that are more advanced and are further along the path to enlightenment because they don't believe?
Many scientists are way, way, way in advance, because they don't believe in belief. They believe in evidence. They believe in, let's say, the material world, in a sense, for their purposes, because that's where they need to test. That's the field that they need to test and prove what it is for themselves. See? Sometimes, and we understand this, it is given to the scientist and to the researcher by inspiration, right? By inspiration, that means by spiritual means. The idea is planted there. So everyone is guided, no matter how atheistic or how spiritualistic they are. Everyone is being guided by the subtle planes because everyone is fundamentally spirit. You don't have to believe that. See? We are not what we can see. We are not what we can hear. We are not what we can feel. We are not what we know. We are not what we can touch. We are infinitely more than that. What are we then? That's the question for all beings.
You go on to write, how can anyone know what to put their trust in if what they are putting their trust in is in fact the very unknowable itself? Are you saying that it's impossible to know God? If so, then how can one get closer to what is unknowable?
Well, we can say we know God is love. Yeah. We can say, well, God is love. How do you know that? We can say we know God is peace. It's easy. Boom. Everybody knows that. See? Okay. We can know God is infinity. So we also, regardless of who you are, what your persuasion is, or what your background is, your culture is, there's this connection we all have with the infinite. We can see that. All of us. So all beings are on the same page when it comes to intelligence. We see and we know that there is the infinite. Everywhere you look, you see the infinite. Microscopically, macroscopically, you see it. Yeah. It's infinite. The infinite is what is called God, the unknowable. Yet we know that. So it's a paradox. You know the unknowable, you know God, and that yet you don't know God.
Chapter 76 is titled, Only Fear is Evil. Would fear ever be considered good?
Absolutely. We have fear programs that are for our safety. Sometimes, if it weren't for your fear, you wouldn't know what's going on. So fear is a primordial instinct that's built into you. Self-preservation is what it's called. And so that you can trust. That, in some cases, you need to override because you need to test that. You need to test your fear. So, for instance, when we're young, we're afraid of darkness, but it's not tested. Some of us see spirits, so we know what we're afraid of. So we say, all right, I saw a ghost. Nobody believes you because you're a kid who can see ghosts. And you're considered wacky, right? But you actually saw what you saw because you're still open. When you're a child, you can see these things. They're real to you. And then for psychics, they're very real. And for native peeps, they're very, very real. And for geniuses who are sensitive, it's very, very real. See? And there are many of these masters that are out here. Don't say they're spiritualists, but they're extreme spiritualists. And the only time you're going to know it is when you're close to them and they tell you what it is. See? Otherwise, they seem to be ordinary, let's say, religious people. Right? But it's not true. They appear to be, and that's true. But then they'll share with you what they see because they are deeper than ordinary people. They are not materialized exactly. And so we have to see that there are some of us who are here in the material, but we're not completely materialized. So we're then sensitive to other things that we can see and hear and feel and know that the body is very limited to perceive in the same way. So you need higher perceptics, and you need to be open to higher perceptics so that the greater universe, the bigger picture, the heart is a universe dynamic, becomes real to you. And each one of us deserves that because that's our inheritance. That's our birthright, is to know the truth of these things.
From chapter 76, you write, truth, being what is beyond the perceptions which have been given to each soul relative to its limited needs or need for limits. Thus, be beyond good and evil and account for neither, now or later. Spirit is beyond all social conscience and conditioning. My question is, so are you saying that good and evil do not exist beyond social or psychological perceptions?
Would you repeat the last question, please?
Are you saying that good and evil do not exist beyond social or psychological perceptions?
That depends on your experience, see? So remember, what is evil for one is good for another person. What is medicine to one is poison to another. And so this is pretty much the rule. What repels one attracts another. This is true at all levels. You can walk into one room and feel repelled by it, another person say, wow, this is the greatest room in the world. So you have people having differences of opinion because of their nature, see? their chemical nature, their karmic nature, their emotional nature, their psychic nature, their physical nature, their, mental nature, and their higher creative nature. See, so all of these are very definitely different dynamics of our consciousness and fullness, and that we have to account for and when we're making decisions. And why people don't get along, it's not because of a lack of love and a lack of caring and a lack of serving, wanting to serve one another, or a lack of general compassion. It's just that people are so different, truly. I mean, each one is their own universe, each one is their own God, so to speak, their own self-created universe in potential, anyway. And each one is a creator and destroyer at the same moment. See? And so the idea is to get the heart into place, because if you're allowing just the flesh and the earth's instincts, the material instincts to hold sway over discretion and judgment, then there's a turbulent ride, it's a roller coaster ride. But when you have the calmness of higher, sort of, let's say, realization and awareness, and then there's calmness, there's peace. So the idea is to be in the kingdom of nature and to allow sanity to rule, not insanity.
From chapter 76, you write, "Many spirits who appear to have their own wills do not. They are indeed like machines programmed to operate a certain way, and they do only that." My question is free will, as most people in the conventional sense would know it to be, just an illusion?
It is, but it isn't. You do have free will. You can choose, and then you pay for it. See, you pay for it. You have to take what comes with it. See, make a choice, then you have to see what comes with it. See, and a lot of people choose correctly for themselves, and they don't want to make a mistake. Other people don't care if they make mistakes, because they don't see it as mistakes. They say, well, it happened that way, so an accident's an accident, a mishap's a mishap. Bad vibes are bad vibes, and that's just the way it is. We're all normal, and this is it. So there's no cleanup. See, there's no repairing it. See, because people don't see that there's anything to be repaired, because you are at the level of what that is, the chaos. You don't have a higher option. See, you feel, maybe you don't want a higher option. See, but if you've experienced the stillness of the heart's nature, see, you see, well, this is crazy. See, we don't need that. People need to go through craziness to get to this place of, let's say, resolution, see, peaceful, harmonious, let's say, interaction with others. And I think that's where you'll see on the planet certain beings who have excelled, I guess you might say, high achievement. They've gone beyond high achievements, and from all different walks of life come to a consensus of view that what is necessary is more wisdom, so that people have the ability to make a higher judgment on what it is. Do they want their families destroyed or not? It's that simple. And if you don't want your families and your lineage or whatever destroyed, then what do you do? You have to speak for peace. You have to stand up for peace, so that everyone has a chance to do better, advance their consciousness, and enter a higher stage of evolutionary intelligence and creative intelligence, and want to give more to everyone else, rather than take life and leave nothing but carnage, and desolation out here, which is where it tends to go. See? Look at the battle areas on the earth right now. See? What is that? Desolation. See? Carnage. See? It's waste. See? So we're talking about going to waste, or recreating something beautiful for the rest of the people here, for the rest of the time the earth is enabling us to do this.
Is freedom earned, or is it God-given?
Well, I don't know what we mean by God-given in this case. Does everyone have the opportunity to do that? Yes, everyone has the same opportunity. Not everyone has the same karma. Then it becomes an issue of karma. It becomes an issue of tendency and programming, and that's also given. Given for you to indulge, so that you can choose whether or not to be beyond that. That's also given. Once you enter, let's say, the light of all of this, and you say, no, we need to heal. That's also given. And some will say, well, but then they need to destroy it. We say, well, that's also given. Yeah. So both are given. So it's a choice an individual has to make. Once you reach a certain plateau of sorrow, there can be a profound healing, and you say, there must be an end to sorrow. Once you reach a plateau of suffering and destruction, say, okay, enough is enough. Peace will reign. Say, peace will have its way.